Okay, another day. Reducto Principi ad Tentoria. So with the principal, the emperor returned, reducted to his tent. Incredible it is to say. With ardor, the miles. Here it's going to be singular, but it's the soldiers. Quanto quo, just showing how much it was. So much ardor to vindictem, to get revenge. They were fervent, or rather heated, with ire and dolor, with pain and grief. Dolor is pain and grief, ire is anger. And so they were flying off to get some revenge. Concrepans, that's the present participle, so they're rattling their hastas, their spears against to the shield. Even more, even to die, if force or fate obstinatus was fixed on or determined to bear this to them. Et quem vis, which means although or however much. Hoculus, with the eyes or to the eyes. Altitude, so the height of dust was a thundering and blocking the eyes. And calcens, heating up from the heat. Yes, this is the heat. Burning with heat. The burning heat, officerate, looked like blocked the alacrity, the enthusiasm of their limbs. Okay, so they couldn't really see because of the dust. They'd lost much of the movement of their arms from the burning heat. Tamen, nevertheless, velut, it was if exortas, they'd been dismissed. You're dismissed from your oath of office in the legions. As if they had a missoductors, if their general was dead, causing them to be free. Then without any parsimony, with any thriftness or temperament, they butted into iron. So they were all rushed off into the enemy's iron or swords. 11. Contra the Animosius, these rather brave men, Persians, Perse, with a crebrate, with a frequency of flying arrows, Sagittarium volentium. It looked like they seized the conspect in the sight of those opposite them, so there's people rushing towards them they couldn't really see, who, with the elephants, Tardius, rather slowly proceeding, going forwards, by the magnitude of their corporum, by the size of their bodies, and by the horror of their stridor, which is their noise, I guess they hoot out their trunks or something. This incutiba, the bandit, it struck to the Ammianus, to the Roman horses, and Verus men struck a pavor, struck a fear into them. So I guess they couldn't see the elephants because of all the flying arrows at first, and then when they saw them, they were scared. Concursus idiqui, and so the concourse of these armed men, so the clashing of the armed men, and the gammatus, the groaning of the cadentium of the falling, the flatus, these are blasts of the elephants, and the tinnitus, the ringing of the swords of the iron, was audiabato, heard procol far off. Quam diem, for as long as, or until they were satiated of wounds, with inflicting wounds. Both sides, looks like partibus vestis, both sides were tired. Nox, night, which is the nominative, it diremitted, it broke off the curta minor, the contest, and now it was already tenebrosa. It was night was causing it to be dark. 13. Quinquaginta. We've got 50 tum then Persian optimates. These are leaders or leading figures of the Persians, and satraps. These are people who govern regions, with a maxima plague, with a great amount of common people, caciderant. They all fell. Amongst this turbus, these groups, Marina and Nohadare, very potent leaders, were interfectus, killed. The Magniloquent, the great speaking of these old Vetustus, of the old people, maybe would obstupefactor, would stupefy, amaze. In locus diversus, in diverse places, there were 20 prolia, 20 battles, which added ornatum. Okay, so Marcellus Sicanonium dentatum, he was ornated or presented with these decorations, with a multitude of military coronas, from these 20 battles in diverse places. which you can have great speaking about. Super here's above these things, Meritor, you might be amazed at Sergius, who, viciens inter, 23 times, vulneratus est, he was wounded in various pugnas, in various battles, ut furto, as they say, of whose posterity, or the future people, Ultimus Catiline. So Catiline would be the end of his family, Claris Gloriarum Adorias. So it looks like, here we go, you have umbravided. You have darkened for sempiternity, for always or forever. It has been darkened with this maculus, with this stain, all the great glory that he got by Catiline, if you know that figure. He was a bad guy. Tarman, nevertheless, these eventus latios, these happier events, were deformed or made ugly by a tristity, by sadness as well. Okay, that makes sense. 14. Dumhake. While these things, and for after the discussion, after the leaving of the doctors of the generals, these things were going on ubique everywhere. The army, the exercitus, with its dextro cornu, its right wing were defatigued or tired, and with Anatolio infected, and Tullius was killed, who then was the magister of duties. He held some role. This looks like a typo. Salutius Praefectus. He was in charge of something. Praeseps, he went headlong into some danger or death. Exidium. He was snatched away by the opera of his apparator. This is one of his helpers or lower in commands. But Philosaurus was lost, who was a consulario, who was another person who was there next to him. Eo is the dative. So this guy is Salutius. By this chance or case, he evaded and he fled. But this other guy who was there, it looks like he was a misad. He was lost. He was killed. Okay, one reading Fuga is stragglers, palatios. Anyway, and there were quidam milites, certain soldiers, even higher up ones, through many discriminants, through many crises. Then they occupied a castello in the vicinity. So a nearby fort or castle they occupied with their presidio. That's the amount of people there was. And Daniqui finally, post diem after day tertium, after 3 days, they potuerunt, they were able to Yungai to join back with their army. Okay, so they took some protection in a nearby castle, and after 3 days they rejoined. Okay, here's a daily dictionary word, parsimoniya. You don't usually think it's being frugal, but it would have been the temperance here. Or you could probably look it up in some of the dictionaries. Lewis and Short's a good one. 15. Quae, which things, dum, while, agator, they were going on, ita thusly, Julianus was Jacens lying in his tabernacle, in his tent. Ad locutus est, he spoke to those circumstantes, people standing around him. Looks like here they are plural, they're demissos, they're looking down at the ground or something, and they're tristis, they're sad. Advenit, it's come, O Soci, O companions, now the time of abiunding, time of going away, e vita, from life. Impendio, that's probably an adverb or something. Tempestum, this is the time, might be a sad time or something, which natura it's demanded of by nature or something, and as a good debtor of good fides, of good trust, exalto, I'm exalting that I'm about to return. Not as quidam, not as certain people opine or think. I'm afflicted with merens in a grieving sort of way, but per doctus, I'm learned with the sententia, with the opinions or views of the general lot of philosophers. How much, here's a nominative, the animus, the soul is betio, more blessed than the body, the corpore, and contemplating this thing. Now, I've done the daily dictionary, I'll just finish up. Okay, so contemplating this, that the soul is more blessed than the body. Quotients, whenever a better condition, a melior condition, is securned, separated or discerned from a worse one, a deterior one, Laedendum, as say, should be more happy rather than be dolending, than grieving. Also, quoque advertens, you might say notice or something. Notice this, that etiam, even the celestial gods, looks like dative to certain people most pious, they persolve, they give mortem, they give death just as if it's the summum premium, the greatest rewards. Okay, certain pious people, the gods give death as a great reward, sort of thing.